You're listening to Food Rebels and welcome. This is the podcast that brings you brands, chefs and live on-air tastings. A show that's dedicated to the more rebellious side of the food world where we celebrate the people who have challenged the status quo. We'll be giving you a peek behind the curtains and inside the minds of the people who are shaking up our food industry. You know me, I'm the show host, AJ Sharp, taste expert, food writer, great taste food judge, and of course business owner. I love meeting new people and tasting new foods. So, sit back as we hear more stories from people in food who dare to be different.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Food Rebels. We have got two previous guests on. You may remember them from Getting Into a Pickle, which aired at the end of last year. We've got Eve Tudor and Suzy Pelta. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
So, Eve Tudor is a food judge and critic, expert taster and editor of Chubari. And your specialist subjects are?
Coffee, low and no, do lots of plant-based and alternative foods, occasionally a bit of cheese and occasionally all sorts of other things.
Excellent. And Suzy Pelta, ITV Lorraine Cake Club winner, demo chef, food presenter, food judge. And what are your specialist subjects?
Snacks, sweets, chocolates, chili, spirits, all food, leopard print and pink lipstick.
Ace. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Well, I want to talk about trends on this episode. However, we saw each other on Wednesday, didn't we? Suzy, could you tell us what we'll do Wednesday together?
We were laughing a lot, but what we were actually doing was having some coordinated judge training for the Great Taste Awards. Judging season starts soon, so we were learning all about coffee tasting and chocolate tasting. It's a very hard job, but we did very well. So
It was a lot of tasting that day.
It was a lot of tasting, wasn't it? I think on the chocolate one, was there something like 20 different cubes of chocolate on a big grid of paper?
It definitely felt like there were 20 pieces of chocolate. Which is funny because I just thought, I'll just eat them all. I did not. I did not. But it was really interesting. We were taken on quite a journey of quality and flavours. But yeah, it was really interesting. And it was quite taste as well, but a lot of things going on in my mouth.
there were a couple that were really, really bad as well. And they were supposed to be. It was supposed to show us kind of how chocolate can not be great. But I mean, we all needed tissues to spit things out into.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I had an incident. But,
You did.
we all did. Not I think I may have embarrassed myself somewhat. It was really interesting. It was interesting eating the bad stuff next to the good stuff as well. Particularly at the beginning, there was quite a few that we were kind of taken through a very strange journey.
Yeah, he was giving us extremes, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I think, as people will know if they follow me, I am a big fan of the cheap stuff and the stuff that perhaps doesn't take you on the same kind of journey. But some of the chocolates we tried were just exceptional, absolutely exquisite. It was, without sounding a little bit corny, literally a journey in your mouth. It was wonderful. And we were all kind of talking through flavors that we were tasting and it was really special. And I think that kind of chocolate isn't appreciated as much as it should be. And it was really wonderful to sit there and discuss it in that way and learn how to appreciate it, learn how to taste it properly. I mean, AJ, you were funny, weren't you? Because we were told to snap it, to hear the snap, you can hear the quality of the chocolate from the snap. But AJ kept snapping it and then wetting it by
Aww.
try and see. She didn't quite get it at first, did you?
It was like a coordination thing where you're sort of snapping it and then holding up the half I just snapped off to my ear as if it was going to suddenly start chatting to me, tasting it. I would have totally got away with it had Suzy not gone, babe, you're supposed to snap it by your ears. Oh, no. Eve, as a coffee judge, how did you feel about the coffee training in the morning? Because I found it fascinating. I don't know very much about coffee. And so for me, 80% of it was new information.
It wasn't a lot of new information for me, but I know Marcello who gave the talk, and he's really interesting. What this man doesn't know about coffee and geography, it would seem, because he was telling us stuff I had no idea about, was really, really fascinating. I've judged with him. He's absolutely incredible. Garcia, yeah.
What was his full name?
Marcello, I think it's Garcia.
from Mission Coffee Works.
Yes. He was really good to judge with. So when I realized that the coffee training was with him, I was like, well, that's a no-brainer. It was interesting because the tasting, obviously, I've done a lot of that before. For me, it was interesting what you were all doing on the table, because I was just like writing down my notes the same as I do any other tasting. But it was really interesting on how you guys are doing it, because we rarely get, although we got a couple of new people in last year, mainly on the decaf. We rarely get new judges in the espresso rooms, which I'm always in. And it was really interesting to see how you guys were actually kind of tasting and what you were sensing and coming through. So for me, I think that was really important, because as a coordinator, for me to help and manage and look after people coming in who are new, particularly if they've not really done it before, but their taste buds are still there, it's still really important for me to kind of have that knowledge of working with somebody new and trying to translate what they're tasting. I think we had a lot of conversations about bitter flavors and acidic flavors. Obviously, they happen in different parts of your mouth. We had whole conversations about things like that, didn't we? Which were really interesting. But it was quite funny how some people were saying acidic, and I'm like, "Do you mean this?" And but it was fun. But it was fun. It was really interesting. But he's brilliant. But honestly, I could have had another coffee by the end of it. I think I'm just not used to drinking, because there was only 4. And I'm used to just having more than 4 at home. So I was a bit embarrassed. I thought, I can't ask for a coffee at lunch, can I? So, no, it was really funny. But how did you guys find it? Because you guys don't coffee judge.
No, I mean, I kept kind of second guessing myself a little bit. I didn't feel as confident judging it. I think I said to you, Eve, that I am very sensitive to caffeine. So
Yeah.
that's why I don't judge coffee.
No, that's fair.
I don't think I'd sleep for a year afterwards if I did. But I love coffee. I drink it kind of in a functional way every day to set me up for the day and keep me awake. And I like strong, dark, quite bitter coffee. So I think one of them was definitely, I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, the last one we had was quite dark.
Yeah, that was my one then. But I was second guessing myself. I kept looking over at you. I felt like I was cheating in a school test. Kind of, what's she writing? I want to see if I've got the same thing.
No.
But yeah, I think with any kind of food judging, as we all find, the skills are transferable. So it was just about being a bit more confident in knowing that, yes, I've not judged coffee before, but actually what I have judged and my understanding of flavour and of taste is completely applicable to coffee in the same way it's applicable to anything else.
And it does translate, though. It does translate. Like, you can taste things. You don't think you can, and you panic. And I could see, like, it's like, is it this? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I completely understand the caffeine issue. That is something that everybody deals with in very different ways. One of the judges, I won't tell you who, last year said they came to decaf having done matcha. And I was like, oh, how was that? And I'm like, oh my God, I was absolutely buzzing. It was completely insane. And I was like, yes, there's more caffeine in matcha than there is in coffee. And they were like, what? I couldn't sleep. And I was like, why did you do matcha? And they were like, well, they were low on coordinators. And, you know, it was a man, he has an incredible palate. And I was like, you totally could have done that. And he goes, well, I did okay. Like, I did it. And there were people talking me through stuff. And I learned an incredible amount about what my palate can understand and taste. But I was buzzing for 2 days. And my God. But yeah, it's serious. But I think there are quite a lot of us who I just don't really get affected in the same way.
I think food judging in general, I put things on my stories on Instagram when I do food judging. I put things on from the other day as well. People were like, oh, you've got the best job. It's amazing. But I think what isn't spoken about as much is the after effects sometimes for the judges. And you know, I think certain sensitivities like mine to caffeine or other people to other foods, we have to prepare ourselves, and we have to be aware of kind of pacing ourselves, which is how you're supposed to be anyway in the judging room, but also making sure, you know, for me, I drink kombucha when I'm judging general food because I feel that helps with digestion, and there's other things. And actually there was the tip that Spencer gave, didn't he said about using dark chocolate to aid digestion as well after you've had a meal. So I mean, Spencer said it and I believe that I need to eat more chocolate. So I'm going for that.
You've just alluded there to Spencer Hyman from Cocoa Runners, who took all of the chocolate judging part. Do you know, I just remembered we all had to do that super taster test, didn't we? And we were all sat there with this most revolting taste of bitterness afterwards. And it was amazing. So it was like, that means you're a super taster. It was like, this is epic. So that was quite cool.
My mouth tasted of paper.
Did it? Oh, for me, the whole of the back of my mouth was like running, like salivating from the most disgusting taste in the world. It was horrible. But it took a minute because I put it on the front of my mouth, and you don't taste bitter at the front, you taste bitter at the back. And it wasn't until I kind of sucked it and then swallowed that suddenly I was like, this is revolting. Spencer was talking a lot about UFP in chocolate, wasn't he? Of the different ingredients that he used and how that massively affect the quality of the chocolate. How did you guys take that?
I mean, a lot of that was, I think, was quite upsetting. A lot of the stuff that kind of because he got a little bit political, didn't he, about certain things, which was quite sad, and I didn't realise. And so me having a lovely dairy milk, not the best, but I do like dairy milk. But no, it was really interesting, the stuff he kind of brought up about where things come from and how people hide where they get their sugars from or get their cocoa beans from, or how that kind of comes about. And certain companies do certain things, and certain flavour will come from here and certain flavour will come from there, and they're adding this. And who was it? Someone was adding sugar to their milk to make certain things sweeter and taste different, and because they can hide things, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, we were sitting with Sarah, the honey sommelier,
Yeah.
and a lot of what Spencer was talking about in terms of the chocolate industry, she was nodding along, and in fact about coffee as well, and she was nodding along about honey. And I think, we're very fortunate. We judge food and we know a wide variety of food, but as we have said before in our previous episode, we are not food snobs, and we are equally happy having the dairy milks or McDonald's as well. And I absolutely appreciated and took on board what Spencer was saying. I think I felt a little conflicted because obviously a lot of the stuff that I do is with perhaps some brands that he doesn't approve of, or certainly it's a different experience. I guess as a consumer, it's about understanding that the chocolate that you buy in the shops is not the same as craft chocolate, and the experience that you get in terms of flavour and in terms of what you're buying and where it's come from, and the love and the care and the attention and the journey that's gone into that product is entirely different from the stuff you buy in the supermarkets. And I think there is obviously a market for both, but it's about marketing, and perhaps the marketing of, well, definitely the marketing for some of the more popular brands is a touch misleading and inaccurate. And I don't think all consumers are aware of that.
But that could run across the board with everything, though, couldn't it?
Well, that's it. It's the ultra processed debate.
Yeah, but it's also the problem with, I think, we're in really unique situations where we are very much consumers of all sorts of things. We're able to buy high-end, incredible coffee or chocolate or whatever, but also a dairy milk. I mean, no, I don't go to Starbucks or any of those horrendous places, but they're very much in our wheelhouse. And to be fair, I do need to know how those disgusting things taste, just so that I almost stay with my finger like on what's actually happening in the real world. But we also, I mean, things like everything from meat and where meat comes from, and how the soil is sustainable, and how the animals are looked after, where our plants come from, and we could literally reach out from one end of the spectrum to the other, and we have a lot of information that essentially we just have to push down, buy our shopping, come back, have a cry as we're eating whatever, and we're in really weird situations. But like, I was talking to somebody the other day about how when we're judging, if we do general judging, we do get all sorts of meat in, and we get some incredible things, of whatever it is, wherever it comes from, we get some incredible food. And then you get the other end of the spectrum, as you were saying, Suzy, about we have to taste some things that are not the nicest thing to taste. And essentially that's a good thing, because we have comparison. Not that you can't compare, but we've learned this is exceptional and this is not so much. And it's an interesting kind of place to be. But yeah, I mean, when doing training and hearing about serious part of what we're eating, it's everything, isn't it? It's
I think also when it comes to chocolate, for one exception I feel is actually chocolates like Dairy Milk and Bourneville are excellent for baking. And I would prefer to use a chocolate like that than a better quality chocolate, because I essentially want it to be functional as opposed to providing too much flavor. It's really there kind of for the milk, the sugar, the kind of chocolatey flavor, as opposed to much more than that. But yeah, I think it's a very difficult balance, isn't it? Being a conscious consumer who's aware of the impact that what we are buying has on the environment, supporting small producers, making sure that we are trying to be as varied with our diets as possible. But also sometimes we want to buy what we want to buy, and we have children that are very influenced by marketing and fussy taste buds and other things like that. And it is a very hard balance to have. And I don't claim to have it right at all. I try and just buy a variety of products, support a variety of brands as much as possible.
There's a lot of people talking about ultra-processed food. It's obviously like a really big theme. We know Chris Van Tulleken wrote his book, Ultra-Processed People. Tim Spector's doing his mass research that we all pay a lot of money to be part of with the Zoe thing. I did do it, I admit. And it was revelatory, really interesting. I've totally changed the way I'm eating as a result of it.
Yeah.
And as a result, I know that at home, I am scratch cooking far more than I ever did. Not totally. I'm still really busy. I still have 2 kids and I have a business to run and I have 2 dogs and it's busy. So yeah, absolutely. Chicken Kievs get bunged in the oven all the time. But when I do have time, I take quite a lot of joy in scratch cooking. And they do say this trend is going to happen. Like, we are going to see a lot more ingredient-led cooking. What do you guys think about that?
Personally, we're all in the same situation. We all run our own businesses. We all have multiple children and dogs and everything. We have to juggle everything. We are trying to be the modern woman and do everything at the same time. I love cooking. I love taking time over cooking. I try and be as careful as I can as what I'm putting into all of our bodies. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. Sometimes nuggets are on the table. There's a pizza. Like, it's just not physically possible for us to lead every single day making everything from scratch. I mean, one thing that I'm going to be honest, I quite like is like I buy pre-made herbs. Like, there's multiple herbs in one jar. There's certain things that I buy and I'll stick it over chicken, stick it over something, and it tastes bloody amazing. They're really good. Everyone's like, oh, this is really nice, Mum. Like, you've made them from scratch. And I'm like, literally, it's just chicken with a pot. And, and that works. And some days it's that, and some days it's plastic food and chips.
Yeah.
I think we're all kind of in the same boat, but unless people have more time, I think over COVID, I think we had more time to cook and think about our food and, I've got days to make sourdough and blah, blah, blah. Haven't those days gone?
Yeah.
But we started running back to running continuously. I mean, Suzy, you're full pelt, aren't you? You're a human taxi service and a chef.
No, I am, and I'm very much about quick meals as much as possible. I used to put all my meals on Instagram during COVID. It was my favorite time in terms of family time, not taking away from the awfulness of COVID, but for our family, it was the first time in years, because of outside school activities, that we had a chance to actually sit down and eat. And I was cooking from scratch pretty much every single day. And the minute real life started again, it became virtually impossible. And I guess, as I said, I'm the same as you guys. I have a balance between the chicken nuggets are definitely on the table at times, and so are pizzas and all the other things, but I will try and cook from scratch as well. I guess it's just about going back to what, we were saying before about trying not to have a snobbery over it. I think people can feel quite demonized for the fact that they're picking up the chicken nuggets or the fish fingers, and actually sometimes you just got to feed your kids or feed your family in the best way that you can. And so it's, as with anything, it is balance, isn't it? If you're having that the whole time, then it's not great for you, but there can be a balance and it can be part of your diet. And I'm always a little bit skeptical about the advice that comes in, because whilst I agree it's great advice, it has to fit into everybody's lives as well and be practical. And we know as busy mums that we try and make as informed decisions as possible when we're shopping and when we're cooking. But we also sometimes have kids that just need to eat and need to eat quickly. And we just have to do what we can do.
But you were talking about Tim Spector, and he's come out saying how coffee is like a superfood. Actually, I don't know if he said that, but he's basically said that coffee is healthy, and a lot more other people are starting to jump on the coffee is healthy it's not even a bandwagon. It's just a realization that actually people who drink, I think it was 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day, and it doesn't need to be caffeinated, actually have less, I think it's less cardiovascular issues, probably because it's pumping so hard anyway. But yeah, there's certain things that run throughout the longevity of our lives because actually it's really good for you. And it's not the caffeine, it's the coffee bean. Coffee's really good for you. And he's come out, I think it was some point of this longest January it's ever happened. He came out to say it, and there's a few other people that have come out with it too. So, people saying to me, "Oh, aren't you unhealthy?" I'm saying, "No, I feel amazing, actually." Tim Spector said, "I'm healthier than you."
This year, Suzy, what do you think are going to be the biggest trends? I know the last couple of years, there's been a lot of kombucha and kimchi and gut health. Do you think we're going to see that continue? Do you think it's going to be something else? What do you think is going to be the hot food products of 2025?
So I believe some of the trends coming through from last year are going to continue and only get bigger. And I believe a lot of them are kind of Middle Eastern influenced. So pistachio is going to continue to be big. And I think almonds as well will build. And hot honey is definitely growing. There's lots of kind of, I've noticed some crisps that are coming out, hot honey flavored, different hot honeys available as condiments too. Chili is always big. I think that will only get bigger and bigger, and potentially as linked to gut health as well, which I'm all for. And yeah, I think those are kind of my main ones, and I'm very happy about all of them because they're all things I like. Oh, and our favorite, pickles. Pickles are getting bigger and bigger and bigger in terms of popularity, not an actual pickles, just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Although that would be amazing.
I still want more pickle crisps, though, I think we need to find you a crisp that's hot enough.
I've actually got some downstairs.
I would good those.
Oh, hot crisps. I'm still looking at, but pickle crisps, I've got quite a few. I've brought loads and loads of snacks back from various places, and I had a big clear out of my cupboards the other day and just found loads, and I was like, I need to get back on the snack reviewing because I've got so much stuff. I probably can't tell you where any of it's from, but I need to try it.
No, we need to see. I think pickles are going to get bigger as well.
Yeah. In popularity, not in size.
Hopefully both.
Hopefully both.
Cornicons were so small. They're delicious.
What are your predictions for 2025?
Well, I think gut health, it seems to be a big thing as well. I think because of Zoe and because I haven't done it.
You should. It's amazing.
Well, my mum's just done it, so I'm kind of watching her. She's very excited. She literally got her results last week, and she's been reading it like she's doing a dissertation. It's insane. So that's really interesting. So I will do it, but not yet. Gut health is a big thing. I think we've all started to realize that actually the brains of our bodies isn't in our head, it's in our gut, and it does run our entire health system. So as long as our gut's okay, the rest of us will be functioning pretty well. Sorry, that's I go completely medical when I go onto this stuff because I'm completely fascinated. But I think that's a really big thing, which is why I kind of brought up the whole coffee thing. It's a health, you can drink it as a health drink. But things like matcha, everything is green, whether it's pickle, whether it's my t-shirt, whether it's matcha. I think a lot of things are kind of coming out in those, I sound silly to say in those colors, but there's a lot more green out there. But yeah, I think gut is a real thing. It's the biggest thing that I'm kind of finding on my feed. And obviously my algorithm is running to my crazy brain, but there's a lot of that out there. I'm seeing I don't think I'm seeing enough. I mean, I think there's still a lot of low and no drinks coming through, although that seems to have calmed down a little bit. I'm kind of hoping that'll build up a bit again. I'm seeing a lot less alcohol, which is weird.
Yeah, but there's non-alcoholic alternatives that give you a buzz, like what was the one I saw the other day? Impossible, which is like a beer with a buzz, and 3 spirits,
Yeah.
which is there's 3 different spirits, and one kind of perks you up at the beginning of the night. I think it's called Live. One that's social, you kind of drink it all night, and then I can't remember. The last one's called something like Nightcap, and it's got,
Oh.
so there's adaptogens and nootropics being, I think adaptogens are meant to relax you and calm you,
Yeah.
whereas nootropics are things like caffeine or lion's mane that are supposed to perk you up and be quite stimulating,
Yeah.
and how we're all looking at this functional benefit.
Yeah. So lion's mane is absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
To the point I've actually bought into it somewhat. But I think, as you were saying about kombucha, there's a company called Hip Pop, I think, and they make a really lovely kombucha, but they have some with CBD in it,
Yes.
and that's delicious. Like, I've completely bought into this, and the sleep I have after I've had it of an evening is delicious. It's absolutely wonderful. But also things like Trip that have
CBD as well.
they have CBDs in them, but they're also much higher in magnesium. And magnesium is a massive buzzword at the moment. I don't know if it's just our age group. I don't know. But it's a big thing because it helps gut health. One type of magnesium helps gut health. Another type of magnesium actually helps you sleep.
Yeah.
So I think, I worry that it's my age. But I genuinely think there's a lot more things coming out like that rather than just a low and no drink. I think it's a health drink.
Definitely.
I think we are getting on the gut bandwagon, and everybody is like, hey, let's maybe go to the gym and just kind of work on our inner selves.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good thing. I think that's great. I think being a bit more sort of looking after ourselves a little bit. We're so much more conscious of our mental health, and so much of this is by what we're putting into our bodies.
Yeah.
That's my trend. It's not necessarily a specific food, but I do think it's kind of a health kick, a mental health kick.
I completely agree with you. I think it's all about food not being looked at just as something which tastes good, but it's also about the nourishment of that food. It's about whether or not it's functional. Is it actually adding to our bodies? We know that there's an absolutely huge increase in the uses of nootropics and adaptogens. And I think for me, UPF, I know I keep banging on about it, but it's such a massive area that I just think is going to get bigger and bigger. We're going to see such a big rise in scratch cooking as a result. It really is going to be something that people are checking the back of packs to see how much processing did this onion in this product start out life as an onion, lovingly chopped up in a kitchen somewhere, or has it gone through some sort of processing factory plant and turned into powder and had all sorts of stabilizers and emulsifiers and all sorts of other things added to it. These things really matter. It matters what process the food has gone through, and it really responds very differently inside your body depending on that. So anyway, on that very cheery note, I just want to say thank you very, very much to both of you for coming on and sharing your pearls of wisdom. Cheers, guys.
Thanks for having us.
No, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Food Rebels, which is available on radio stations around the UK and further afield. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Audible. Please remember to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars or follow us. It makes such a difference, not just to our podcast and radio show, but it really helps to support the guests that come on the show with us. We're also on Instagram at food_rebels. So give us a follow, do get in touch. We love hearing from you and let us know what you think. Thanks so much for joining us, and make sure you taste the rebellion.